Yo, chat, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this, chat. So, Monster Hunter Wilds. At this very moment, chat, from what I've noticed, at least, you know, for me personally, it's been a while since we talked about Monster Hunter Wilds, right? At this very moment, it is sitting on a mostly negative review of Monster Hunter Wilds at this very moment. So it is sitting negative. So I'm curious, right? Because this video popped up on me, right? I want to know what's it all about. I'd be curious to see like what if this person knows exactly like what focal points. It's funny, right? It's funny because I had a conversation with one of my friends, right, about Monster Hunter Wilds, and he literally said that this Monster Hunter Wild is not gonna last very long. And I'm like, I kind of like, for me personally, I already knew it too as well. The moment I started playing the whole campaign of it, yeah, I was like, nah. Well, let's take a look, shall we? Let's see what they have. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see if he'll talk about it. I'd just be curious, you know?
Monster Hunter Wilds' recent reviews have been sitting on mostly negative, while its all-time reviews have been sitting on mixed. And this has been like this for about a week, which is when we got the latest game update, which actually added quite a few things that I enjoyed. I even made a video talking about it where I said this Monster Hunter Wilds update slaps. And the reason why I said that is because it introduces the Street Fighter collaboration, which brings with it the Akuma items.
I guess you must like lukewarm updates, I guess. I'm kidding. God, jeez.
That basically lets you punch monsters.
Can't take a joke these days
based on your weapon, so it is actually a viable way to play the game somewhat. Still feels weaker than most of the weapons in the game, but at the same time, it's just a different way to tackle monsters, and I thought that was pretty cool. But that's not the main reason why I've been excited to play Monster Hunter Wilds. It's mostly because we also got more challenging encounters added to the game in the form of the 8-star 5-strength tempered apex predators, as well as Gormagala, which still remains, as far as I'm concerned, the hardest monster in the whole game. Like, that 5-strength 8-star Gormagala, he's got hands.
5-strength 8-star Gormagala? What the fuck? What do you mean? What do you mean 5 strength? Does he have like 5 arms or something and it starts smacking you with every single 5 arms that he has? What? What the hell am I listening here? What is this Monster Hunter game?
But naturally, that hasn't been the experience for everyone. And by the way, I'm not making this video to say, oh, you're thinking about this all wrong, here's why you're wrong. I actually think that a lot of people have valid criticism of the game, and it is something that Capcom should pay attention to. It's just kind of hard to really focus in on all of the negativities that has been happening around gaming as a whole. Because even recent games that I've been playing, a lot of people are just like crapping all over them. Like, I've been greatly enjoying Elden Ring Night Rain. That also has gotten like a ton of crap of people just like saying, oh, this game is terrible, it's atrocious, it's from slop. So it's like, nowadays it feels like there's way more negativity around gaming than there used to be. But that's not to say that it is not warranted in the case of Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm just framing it so that you guys understand that in the grand scheme of things, I like to give these things some time to settle in, to see where the chips are actually lying, right? So let's talk about this. What is one of the biggest problems with Monster Hunter Wilds and why it is currently sitting at mostly negative? And in my personal opinion and from my personal experience and what I've seen being written online, it's the shader cache issue. There's a reason why even in this video where I talk about the title update and the things that I'm excited about the title update, the beginning of the video is actually a guide as to how you can go and delete your shader cache, because for whatever reason, the game doesn't do this with the update that it did. And because of that, if you don't delete the shader cache and recompile your shaders for this Monster Hunter Wilds update, your game's gonna be running like a slideshow. Like, I experienced this, I think.
Dude, that is crazy to hear that.
I think 5 minutes before I booted up my stream, because I was about to boot up my stream to stream the update, and I was like, oh man, this is running super bad. What is going on? And then I was thinking to myself, wait, I didn't see the recompiling shaders thing. So I made a post on X telling people, hey, if you're running into unusual performance issues with the most recent Monster Hunter Wilds update, try removing your shader cache. And a lot of people even confirmed that, like, can confirm, sorts the stutters right out. Do note NVIDIA's users file is called shader.cache2, shader.cache.cmd, blah, blah, blah. But basically, there's people confirming that this fixes the problem. Now, there's also people saying that the game doesn't even work and the game is crashing. I don't know what to tell you about that. The game's had performance issues since the beginning. It's not
Laughs
their
at
fault.
PS5
There are problems
Pro,
that
this
Capcom still
guy.
needs to sort out, and this is actually, in my opinion, the main reason why we are currently seeing reviews trending towards mostly negative, because people have put up with the performance issues that the game had at the start.
That's not even the only thing about the PC performance either. There's just other things that's wrong with the game itself. But it is one of the
people are
major
kind of,
ones.
like, done waiting
It's
for
like
this to
number
be
one
sorted,
major.
in particular for a reason that we'll talk about a little bit further in this video. But this is I think that the shader cache issue is definitely the main problem. As a matter of fact, you can see that there's even an official update, because this account here, Monster Hunter Status, this is actually an official Capcom account, which I wasn't even aware.
That is crazy that Capcom literally has to put out a thing or so for you to delete your cache, even though it's a multi-million-dollar company, dude. Oh man, dude. Imagine you need to optimize your PC to play that game. Not enough heavy bowgun nerves. L game.
Didn't even
Shut
know
your
that this
bitch
was
ass
official. I
up.
just saw Jono retweeted it at some point, and I was like, oh, I guess this is an official account.
Why
And then
aren't
here
you
they
playing,
talk
huh,
about how
Dubstep? Why aren't you playing Monster Hunter Wilds, huh? Don't you love that game? Didn't you say you love that game, bro? You should be playing it, like, religiously, bro. What are you, a tourist? You're a tourist, bro.
delete your shader cache file. So even Monster Hunter is talking about this a whole bunch. But that's not all. There's another issue that, because one of the things that I like to look at is I also like to hopefully provide solutions for some of you guys, so to hopefully inform you guys on some of these things. One of the things that I would also like to point out is that for a lot of people, updating your chipset driver is also going to greatly solve a lot of problems. And I know that this is not what people want to hear about
what?
drivers, and you know, it's like, don't tell me to update my drivers, my computer's running fine, everything is like, look, I get it, and this is not an excuse. The game has performance issues, absolutely, but this might be something that might be able to fix it for some of you, because it definitely fixed it for some people in my community, and I'm just presenting it with a solution, okay? I'm not saying that your criticism is not valid. I'm not saying that there are no performance issues, because there absolutely are, but I am saying that if you try this, it might help. Like, I was made aware of this by seeing a post from Heavy Wings on X, where he was saying, I owe Monster Hunter Wilds a huge apology. Turns out I updated my NVIDIA drivers, but not CPU driver. Now, there's no such thing that I'm aware of as a CPU driver. There are chipset drivers, and you can update your chipset driver by opening the xdiag, which is like, you just go to Windows, or you can type command the Windows key and R, and then you can type the xdiag. That's going to boot up a window that shows up like this, and it will tell you all of your system specifications and stuff like that. And you want to look for system model.
Shut the fuck up,
because that will tell you
I
what
don't
your
want to hear
motherboard
from
is,
you.
and that
You're
is
a
usually where
liar,
you can go
so.
and get your chipset drivers. Even though if you have a Ryzen, I've noticed that the AMD, what's it called, Adrenaline application, now also automatically updates your chipset drivers. So if you have Adrenaline and you've been keeping up with that, it should automatically update everything. I think that Intel themselves also have an application that does that now. But in the event that you don't have any of these, you can just look for your motherboard name, and then go there and look for the chipset driver on the motherboard's manufacturer, and that might help. Might help. That, I'm not guaranteeing that this is going to solve all your problems. I've heard reports from people in my stream when I was explaining people how to do this. A lot of them came back and said, holy crap, I got like 30 additional FPS now since I've done this. So that's the only reason I'm bringing this up, okay?
Right.
Now, but still, performance,
Right.
I think performance is the biggest of all things, but it is not everything. So another
They
thing
are.
is, and this is something that I've seen now spoken about much more than during the launch period, because I brought this up in my review. In my review of Monster Hunter Wilds, I talked about how there wasn't really as much friction as I would have liked. Things like tracking, things like the Sacred doing a lot of stuff for you, like the Sacred completely navigates the maps for you, so you kind of like lose that feeling of actually exploring the map.
That's
and
true.
whatnot. So basically,
That's
the whole
very
quality of
true.
life thing. And it's interesting because
Hey, Sal.
during the launch/review period, most people were saying that like, we don't care about the lack of friction. This is actually great. I can just get to the monster instantly, kill the monster. And turns out that a lot of those people are now coming back and it's like, actually, the friction that was present in previous Monster Hunters was actually really great.
Damn, that's crazy to actually hear that. That is wild. Finally, they took off the rose-tinted glasses. The honeymoon phase is over, and they're finally realizing what's actually wrong with the game itself.
Because a lot of people actually have gone back and started playing Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter Rise. Some have even gone back to GU, and some people even gone back to like 3 Ultimate, 4 Ultimate, and all of that, which is something that tends to happen, and we're going to be talking about that when we get to concurrent numbers and all of that stuff. But yeah, so Sacred and a bunch of quality of life things have also made it so that there's less friction in the game, and less friction means that I just think that friction is an essential part of the Monster Hunter experience, and a lot of people disagreed with me when I talked about this in my earlier coverage of Monster Hunter Wilds, which is fine, you know.
No, they're wrong. They're stupid and wrong. No. I'm like, fuck the Sacred, bro. Fuck the, like, autopilot thing.
But I find it interesting that a lot of those people are not coming back and like, actually, we could use more friction in the game. It's
Yeah,
okay.
because they're stupid, bro. Because they're dumb as fuck. I call them out because, you know, you gotta call these motherfuckers out because they're dumb.
Change your mind. That's perfectly fine. I'm not here to criticize or whatever.
Nah, I
Then we have
criticize.
focus
I
mode.
criticize
Now, I'm not
the shit out
against
of these
focus
people.
Mode, but focus mode does take away from the animation commitment, which is also a part of that friction that we were talking about. So maybe some rebalancing of how focus mode works could help. The wounds, that's also a very big criticism that people have, which this is something that they've addressed with the recent update to the game, due to the fact that the 8-star tempered apexes get wounded less, even though whether or not that's still enough, we don't know. But, you know, they are trying to address that specific part of it. But at the end of the day, the game has released and people have played the game. And there's more things that we can kind of point out to. But basically, quality of life, lack of friction, and overall just kind of like a little bit lack of challenge. And we're
That's
gonna get into
true.
that a little bit
You're
more.
not wrong, Vinky.
Another thing that people have been pointing out is that the game was unfinished when it released.
Damn, dude. Oh my goodness gracious me, man. Oh, that's so fantastic to hear that, to be honest. Wow, did you guys finally learn that the game was not finished when it came out? Wow, that's crazy, you know? I've been saying that shit since day one.
And there's actually a video that I forgot to pull up, but there is a video from Bellular News where he talks about this, how there's a lot of financial pressure on Capcom to kind of like deliver with Monster Hunter Wilds. And that might have been one of the reasons why they released it early, because of their yearly plans. Like, he dives super deep into the financial aspect of it. I'm going to be sure to link Bellular's video in the description of this video so that you guys can go check it out.
Shut your bitch ass up, Dubstep. Your mama's gonna slap you harder than your fucking dad did, alright?
And I do think that part of the stuff that is mentioned there has definitely had a negative impact in the game as well. Initially, and I've said this multiple times, I don't believe that the game was unfinished. I feel like they've purposefully held back on the Grand Hub to guarantee engagement over a longer period of time. I don't have any inside information on this. I don't know if that is...
Why are you coping, bro? Stop coping. No, they released this game early. They didn't finish the Gathering Hub, and instead of it bringing it out with the game itself, they decided to put it in a title update and call it, you know, brand new update.
correct or not. And I'm not saying that's the right thing to do, but that's the idea that I've gotten.
No.
As well as like some of the content that we got with Title Update 1, Title Update 2, and all of that stuff was just like, you know, held back to ensure a longer tail of engagement with the game, with the title updates and all.
No, because the reason why there's certain aspects that because people actually Dark sent me the link or so that they data mined the beta, and there was actually certain monsters that did not show up in the final game, but the files were in there in the beta. And I wouldn't be surprised if Title Update 2 has those specific monsters on that one, you know?
All that. But I don't know if that's the case. But even if people feel that the game released unfinished, I feel like the amount of content that we've had with the release version of Monster Hunter Wilds is not necessarily that much less than other games, at least not in terms of what people are considering. Because usually when you're talking about lack of content for Monster Hunter, most people are talking about, oh, I wanted more monsters. Yes, agreed. I said as much in my review, by the way. I expected a larger roster. I said this in my review.
I expected a larger a larger roster too, because granted, right, this is supposed to be the anniversary of Monster Hunter, you know? It doesn't really feel like an anniversary whatsoever.
You as well. But I actually think that the discussion that I had with Ratatosker might even be a little bit more relevant here, because one of the things that is missing is a lot of the side content that we had, where you'd go and hunt like food ingredients and stuff like that. A lot of those things are missing.
They cut so much fat from the previous Monster Hunter game.
And those optional quests and all of that, there's a ton of those that feels like they are missing for some of the additional rewards, like, oh, you can get this mantle by doing this side quest, you can get this thing. There's way less of that. And it's not necessarily about the monsters, it's just about the side quests, additional capture quests, things like that. This game has less quests than Monster Hunter World, absolutely. And that is one of the things that I feel could definitely be improved. But I don't necessarily think that, do I want more monsters? Obviously, everybody wants more monsters. Crap, if I could, give me 100 monsters. I want to play this game forever. Of course I do. But I don't expect to. That's the difference. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. One of the main reasons why people are upset is also because they firmly believe the game was unfinished when it came out. And like I said, if you watch the Bellular video, that can actually add a lot more nuance to that particular discussion, because you are likely correct when it comes to that. But another reason, lack of challenge.
I will take my apology from those people who commented on that one video or so. I'll accept your apology, you know. You just gotta grovel on the floor or so for me for your apology, you know. Yes. Yes. Sometimes it's just good to be right sometimes, you know.
Now, this is something that I've talked about a lot, and I got a lot of flack for it, including people telling me, oh, you're misremembering world difficulty and yada, yada, yada. And I made a video specifically showcasing that, like, no, I feel like I remember it just fine. And, you know, I talked about it and I showed that, like, oh,
But your mama is when she kisses my dick, though.
I got carded twice trying to fight against a low rank Tobi Kadachi. And because it does happen, because monsters in World can kind of surprise you when you don't have as much HP as you have in Wilds. And I do think that World was harder, but
Hey, Quasar.
that's not to say that's like, oh, it's impossibly hard or whatever. It's just basically there was a lot of conversation about difficulty. And I kind of feel like, interestingly enough, in this update, where we're getting mostly negative in recent reviews, is an update that
this Suki person did all the new 8 stars, and yeah, this is finally the challenge I've been looking for. Genuinely can't wait to run it back with 8-star Core, who kicked my butt the first fight and got me a double cart. They cooked with this update, I guess.
actually tackles that aspect of things, because it adds way more challenging hunts that I've greatly enjoyed doing. And you can see Tsuki here also talking about that, how it was great to just...
Yeah, but Suki likes glazing over she's literally like likes literally choking on that dick or so for Capcom, because I assume Suki is trying to get that Capcom creator program or so, you know. I'm just saying, hey man, I'm not hating or anything like that, but I'm just like, you gotta criticize the game as well, you know.
Be able to get challenged like this. I do feel like there might be something wrong with New Udra, because I also slapped New Udra down like nobody's business. Like, New Udra got his shit beat faster than pretty much any other of the new Apexes, so that was kind of like surprising to me. But yeah, a lot of cool stuff was added with this update, but it seems like for a lot of people it was too little too late, and not to mention that then they also had to deal with the shader cache situation, which a lot of players just don't know how to deal with, because like this thing that I've mentioned here at the start, a lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah, you think a regular casual player or so is gonna look on Twitter? No, they probably don't have a Twitter. It's probably like a middle-aged man or so who has a family, who has a wife and some kids, goes to a 9-to-5 job or so, comes home, wants to play Monster Hunter, but the new update completely plays like dog shit, and then they just fucking get upset and they just start posting a negative review, because it's just kind of like, you know, they're not gonna look on Twitter. Everybody doesn't have Twitter, okay?
Because not everybody is terminally online like I am, like looking at everything that's happening on X, and I'm trying to inform people as much as I can. Listen, here's how you delete the shader thing, and it'll solve so many problems for you. And people shouldn't have to. Like, the game should take care of it. It's like, hey, we got an update, we're gonna delete this file.
Yeah, of course.
Recompile it, you have to wait for like 10 minutes or whatever on your next boot up, and then boom, you're good to go. So I'm actually surprised that they weren't able to do that. I've heard from people say that now this is something that needs to be handled by GPUs, and let me tell you, if anything needs to be handled by GPUs nowadays, it is likely going to fail, because there's not a single, like, freaking quality GPU in the whole market at this point. But anyways, that's not everything, because alongside all of these things that have been happening, Monster Hunter has also taken a stance on the unauthorized use of pre-release content. And this has been interpreted as Capcom cracking down on mods. Now, I don't use mods because I just usually don't do mods in most games. I like playing the vanilla versions of games. Call me a purist, whatever you want. And I rarely ever do mods in video games, right? So Capcom made this post saying, regarding unauthorized use of pre-release content, the unauthorized acquisition of or use of unreleased content such as armor is a violation of the rules.
Unreleased armor, I assume it's armor that's in the beta files, like, or that are in the files, but then they're not, like, you know, released or so.
So I want to point something out here. So we all know that Lagiacrus is coming
The grifter
in Title Update 2, right? And if people are modding the game in a way that their game is making use of certain files, so there's different types of mods, right? There are some mods that will, like, say, replace an armor. Like, let's say you replace your leather set, and now your leather set looks like something different. Like, let's say someone ports over, I don't know, one of the Shogun Senator sets from Monster Hunter Rise or Sunbreak, right? I'm assuming that's something that you can do, considering that both of these games are on the RE engine. Probably not too hard to do. If someone ports one of those over and they replace the leather set with a Shogun Senator set, right? And then for your screen, whenever you're logging in and you're online or whatever, you equip the leather set and your character looks like it has a Shogun Senator set. That's one thing. And to me, personally,
yeah, of course,
I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
It's your video game. Do whatever the hell you want. Don't care. Doesn't matter to me. However, if you are doing something wherein you're able to access files that are already in the game, because Capcom is probably...
That's not what it is, stupid. So, someone increased the booba size for the female characters. No. It's basically someone who has unauthorized, like, they like in the files, right? If Lagiacrus's armor set is in the files of the game itself, but it's not released yet, and then they're modding it for you to be able to use it in the actual game itself right now, and you're taking it online and everything like that, then that's pretty much is what it is. That's basically a big no-no.
Probably preloading.
Which there's nothing wrong with that, so I agree with that.
And let's say that now you're equipping actual Lagiacrus armor. And when you go online, people are seeing you in Lagiacrus armor. That, to me, is a problem. And why is that a problem? You're spoiling things. You're spoiling people what the armor looks like before they get a chance to actually see it for themselves, or before it gets announced in an official video, whatever. Basically, you're spoiling content. On top of it, people can now inspect and see, oh, what are the skills that this thing has? So you're spoiling more things. On top of it, you are using armor in a version of the game that is not yet ready to have that armor.
You're not even playing it right now. Right now, you're looking at a BBL. Shut the fuck up, dubstep.
And here's the thing. To me, personally, if you're doing that in your single player file, pop off. Do whatever the hell you want. I don't care.
That's true. You can do it offline.
The moment you take that online to a public server, and you're you're showcasing this to people, that is a problem. And my interpretation is that is what Capcom is talking about.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I don't actually know. But that is something that
it says right here, regarding to unauthorized use of pre-release content. It literally says it right here, my man. I'm just saying, you know. He's trying to explain it, right, which I completely understand, but it literally says it right here, like in the first couple of updates, you know, in the first couple of sentences.
See, I don't want to log in to a public lobby and just see somebody rocking Lagiacrus armor. I don't want to see that. I want to see that when it's actually in the game.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that before it is released.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what I'm talking about. And I think that's what they're talking about, but maybe that's not the case. I don't know. Anyway, as the release title update, 1 accounts found to have clearly engaged in such misconduct are now being suspended progressively starting today. Measures will continue to be enforced moving forward. If your account is suspended, terminations, misconduct, blah, 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 blah. It's
okay, buddy.
They're going to review stuff, and you can kind of appeal and contact Capcom support if you feel like you're having issues with all of this. But basically, this is something that was also very negatively interpreted by the community due to the fact that it seems like Capcom's cracking down on mods. And again,
it's not cracking down on mods.
Listen,
it's cracking down on stuff that has not been, you know, like the Lagiacrus armor, for an example, you know.
Are playing in your single player save file, bro, give your character a bazooka that one-shots all the monsters, don't care. The moment you bring it into an online lobby, get banned. Don't care either. Zero sympathy. If you're bringing your one-shot bazooka to an online lobby and you get banned, so sad. But that's the way that I feel about that. You should be able to mod and do whatever the hell you want on your single player save file.
Yeah, of course.
But you should never bring that shit online. That's the way that I look at it. That's my interpretation of this. Maybe I'm wrong. Feel free to correct me in the comment section down below, particularly if you have specific examples. But this would be another thing that also caused the community to kind of be like, hey, what the crap? I don't want this. So they changed their stuff to negative reviews as well. Then we have a very important thing, which is, if you guys pay attention, at the beginning of this video, we talked about there's the cache situation, there's the performance situation, there's all of these things, right? There's already this massive negative sentiment. And then when Capcom releases the latest title update or the game update, whatever that brought with it Akuma and all of that stuff, it also comes with a bunch of paid DLC.
Well, the problem is there's bonds or so where you can just one-shot the monster or so, and you can just take it online, which is it's kind of stupid in my personal opinion to do that stuff. I don't mind if you do it offline or so, right? Just to see how dumb it is, right? I would do it offline, right? Just to see how dumb, overly powerful it is to one-shot a monster, because I think it would be funny content. But doing it online is a little bit yeah, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. People are not going to like that. Obviously, people are not going to like that, because they're not going to like that you're trying to sell them paid content when the current content that exists in the game has all of these problems associated with it.
Yeah, but the problem is that's how it's always been with Monster Hunter. They've always sold DLCs, cosmetic skins like this. The charms, the pendant charm things came a little bit more later, but stickers they sold as well.
So I do feel like there's a timing here, and I feel like this is going to get repeated because, the way that it always works when there's major title updates, there's going to be paid DLC. That's always the way that it works.
Yeah, it's always been like that, though. It's just how it is.
And this time people aren't having it because, quite simply, it's
Your
like
mom
the
likes to
game's
relive
like
the glory days with my
almost
gun
unplayable
sticking
state
inside of
for
her.
a lot of players. And rather than fixing it, you're selling us additional content. People are not going to be happy. I think that this is also a big contribution to the mostly negative reviews on Steam right now.
Yeah, because personally for me, the Street Fighter collaboration, it's not gonna get me back into the game. It's not. It's really not. So.
Now, there's also another conversation happening simultaneously, which is to do with the concurrent players of Monster Hunter Wilds, which, as you can see here, they are quite low. Now, one of the things that I would point out, whenever it comes to Monster Hunter, it is not a live service game. I know that a lot of people like to say, no, it's 100% a live service game. It's live service. It's like, I don't agree. To me, a live service game is a game like, say, Path of Exile 2, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV. Those are live service games, right? Destiny 2, whatever. Those are live service games. Monster Hunter games.
But like Destiny has a single player game with multiplayer aspect, and Monster Hunter has single player gameplay with multiplayer aspect. I'm like, it is technically getting updates, so I think the better comparison would have been instead of Destiny, it would have been Helldivers. Helldivers 2 is a live service game. I feel like for me personally, when it comes to like live service games are more like multiplayer online aspect only. I don't know. If you think it's a live service game, hey man, more power to you. If you don't, you don't. If it is, it is.
Are games that always have an expiration date. So it gets to a point where it's like, hey, we've done all the content we wanted to do. It's over now. We're gonna go work on the next one.
That's true.
And personally, I think that's healthier than live service games. Because what ends up happening with a lot of live service games is they never really innovate. Because they keep iterating and iterating and iterating and iterating. It gets to a point where it's like, this, you've been playing the same
Destiny
game for 10 years. Whereas with Monster Hunter, you play Monster Hunter World, it's very different from playing Monster Hunter Rise.
Yeah, of course.
Which in turn is very different from playing Monster Hunter Wilds.
Of course.
These are very different games. The reason they're able to be that different is because it's not a live service game.
Yeah.
It's because it has an expiration date of about 2 years, give or take, usually.
Yeah, pretty
right?
much. Like,
Monster
I
Hunter
think like what? We had like one big expansion in World. I'd be surprised if they do like 2 expansions for Wilds or something like that. I'd be shocked actually if they do that.
It's probably going to last 2 years. Then we're going to get a G rank expansion, probably going to last around another 2 years. And then that's it. Then they become just like regular standard games that you can pick up and play with your friends and all of that, but the updates are done. They're over. That's the way that it's always been, unless something wildly changes with Monster Hunter Wilds. That's also going to be the case. So I do expect there to be drop-offs. Now, the drop-off for Monster Hunter Wilds has been more accentuated than I would have expected.
Even then, I'm not playing the next Monster Hunter game, so.
I would have expected them to retain 100,000 for a little bit longer than what they have, but it's not particularly surprising. There's always going to be a drop-off. But one of the things that people are saying is like, oh, but Monster Hunter World now has a higher peak than
That's crazy that Monster Hunter World is higher now compared to Wild.
Monster Hunter Wilds. Yes. Guess why? Because people feel like they've done everything there was to do in Monster Hunter Wilds, and they go back and they play Monster Hunter World.
Yeah, but then like people have already finished Monster Hunter World though. Like that argument makes no sense, because the reason why is like it's the same thing with because like I finished with everything with Monster Hunter World, but I'd rather go play Monster Hunter World than Wilds, because Monster Hunter World is more enjoyable than Wilds.
I would imagine that Monster Hunter Rise is probably getting like a decent amount of players as well, but I could be wrong, because Rise, has always gotten like a bad rep. We have 4,000 with a 9,000 hour peak, but I would still expect more players to come into this. Now, I've also seen throughout a lot of posts and stuff that I've seen online, there are still a lot
Even
of
then, like, the classes are a lot more funner because, like, the Charge Blade in Monster Hunter World just looks so cool compared to Wild, you know? The Charge Blade where, you know, when you, like, do the charge and it does a zoom-in camera and then it just slams Dunker, so I always think it's pretty cool to see that.
people that are saying like, oh man, I played Rise Sunbreak and it was amazing.
Probably.
And then I played World Iceborne. I have over 600 hours in that game. And then I played Wilds and I was disappointed. It's like, yes, you played games that had G rank expansions. And this is a base game. But that is also contributing towards the negativity of it as well. Because yes, there are a lot of people that just they aren't aware of the fact that they got Monster Hunter World Iceborne, you know, the Master Edition.
Yeah, but I played base 1.0 Monster Hunter World, and I had more fun, and I put in so many hours in Monster Hunter base world on PlayStation than I do with Wilds. I sank in so many hours in base world before even title update number 1 because there was more stuff to do, you know, compared to Wilds.
And when they're coming into Wilds, they're just getting the equivalent of what was base world. And a lot of people don't understand that because Monster Hunter Wilds is the most popular that the Monster Hunter franchise has ever been. And
yeah, because everything got streamlined for the mainstream audience. That's the reason why, my friend.
Therefore, there's a lot of newcomers and they aren't aware of the differences between base game and the G rank expansions. So it's just something that's going to further fuel the negative sentiment towards it. Now, having said that, there is an update coming for Monster Hunter Wilds. Whether or not people are going to give it a chance or not.
I'm not.
It is a returning monster. A lot of us are super excited for it. There's going to be Lagiacrus. We can't wait for, at least I personally can't wait to face off again.
I will not be fighting Lagiacrus. No. Sorry. It's not going to bring me back.
Lagiacrus, do keep in mind, probably when Title Update 2 comes out, unless Capcom finally fixes the way that they're doing these updates for the shader cache, we're going to see a revival of this problem right here, which is going to be an issue. But at the end of the day, I'm still excited for it. I'm still enjoying Monster Hunter.
That's cool.
I know that's probably not a popular position right now.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this criticism is in fact warranted, but a lot of it is also a little bit overblown. But
I'd be curious what it is, actually, to be honest. I would love an example, personally.
It is what it is. At the end of the day, it is still important to realize that if there are so many people criticizing it, it's actually better than indifference, because that means that a lot of people still care. So I'm just hoping that Capcom pulls it.
Yeah, no, the people who are actually giving negative criticism actually do love the game. Like, I love Monster Hunter as a franchise, but this Monster Hunter is just straight duty. Like, it's straight dookie. Like, straight up, you know? This Monster Hunter game is just not good. It's just really, really, really bad or so. And if you can't realize it because you have rose-tinted glasses on, I think you need to take it off, to be honest.
Around rallies, like really, really takes a long, hard look at these optimization issues, because these aren't exclusive to Monster Hunter Wilds. These are issues that we've seen in Dragon's Dogma 2. And I know that a lot of people are saying, oh, this is even worse. It's not. Dragon's Dogma 2 was worse.
It could be the RE engine, or they just don't know how to they don't have enough time to optimize it well enough or so, like their time frame or so when releasing the game.
I've played both games. Dragon's Dogma 2 was worse. But that's not an excuse. At the end of the day, that's not an excuse. And they need to sort it out. That's just all there is to it. There's more stuff coming beyond Lagiacrus, because they've specifically said there are monsters. There's going to be a new Arch-Tempered monster as well.
Don't care.
And they said stronger monsters, as in more than one. So there's going to be...
It's more than one. It's two! It's two!
Crackers, but there's going to be more. There's also going to be more changes to Hammer.
Damn, Hammer is getting another buff as well? Damn, that's crazy, dude.
Update 2, including the addition of offset effects to certain attacks. I'm hoping that it's a level 2 charge. That'd be amazing.
Oh, Dual Blades. Dual Blades is getting a change as well.
Other weapons are also going to receive changes, like dual blades. There's going to be more this is the part that concerns me. Quality of life improvements. Now, there are things in here that are important, but like the resting function, I've never liked resting in this game.
Hunters will be able to rest in the Gathering Hub, and Suja Peaks of Accord resting restores all destroyed pop-up camps. Man, dude, these quality of life changes are kind of going a little too crazy in my personal opinion. A confirmation window will no longer appear after obtaining an item when your item pouch is full. The obtained item will automatically be sent to your item box. That's fine. That one's okay. I have no problem with that one.
I don't think it makes a lot of sense. I think that we need to go back to like a lure system like we had for the Guiding Lands. I think that is way better than a resting system, and I think it makes more sense because resting is random. With the lures, you can control what you get. Makes way more sense. But
I fucking hate the Guiding Lands. I hate that, dude. I don't like the Guiding Lands whatsoever.
We'll see what happens. There are some quality of life changes here that are good, but I think we need more friction, and I think a large portion of the community believes we need more friction. But anyways, that is my evaluation of the current situation. I hope that Capcom pulls it around because it is still my favorite franchise. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments section.
I like Monster Hunter, but I ain't gonna defend this goddamn game, to be honest. Hell no. The Guiding Lands can go burn in hell. Yeah, I don't like the Guiding Lands. Nah, dude. I hate the Guiding Lands. Nah, man. It's just like, I don't know. Like, I'll give it props for the experimentation for it, but man, the execution was not enjoyable, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, nah, overall, like, yeah, for me personally, I was, it's funny how I was like correct, all those people who were hating on me at the very beginning or so about Monster Hunter Wilds or so, and calling me like a grifter and all this other shit, calling me a bunch of BS stuff or so. And finally, the honeymoon phase is over. It took them long enough or so to finally, for them to beat the game. Took them a couple months for them to beat the game. But hey, better late than never. I always say, in my personal opinion. But yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. You guys can comment, like, subscribe, do all that fancy jazzy stuff. But yeah, very, very interesting to be seeing this. Your mom needs the Guiding Lands because she don't know how to guide on this dick. Anyways, like I said, I'll be honest with you, pretty funny. Pretty freaking hilarious to kind of be seeing that, like, yeah, like, this whole entire time, I was correct. It's funny. It's very funny, though. But yeah. Anyways, that's the end of the video. I told you, Monster Hunter Wilds is just not that great, to be honest. It's just not that great.